Hey, what's up, guys? We're going to do lesson 4 of unit 3, the rules of typography. So this is a pretty fun unit. So these are top 10 rules to not break whenever you're messing with type. I understand when you become a professional, you've been in this game for like 10 years, then start breaking rules because you know what you'll be doing. But until that time, do not break these rules. Just follow them. Trust me. Okay, so rule number 1 is use classic typefaces. So one of the first things that people try to do whenever they're trying to be creative is like use all these fancy, crazy typefaces, okay? So just stay away from these. You want to use a classic typeface. Trust me, it's going to be more powerful, more pleasing to the viewer than these. So don't use Comic Sans, Papyrus, Curls, Chalk Duster, or any of those other crazy novelty fonts that you have installed on your computer. Just stick with the tried and true basic ones that people have been using for a really long time. Rule number 2, limit the number of typefaces. Okay, so as a rule, you should either use 1 or 2 different typefaces, and that is it. Okay, so look at the bad example. We have a serif font here. Then we have a Comic Sans font here. Then we have some sans serif font here. And then we have some monospace font here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 different typefaces here. This is bad. So this is going to create confusion. It looks chaotic. It looks unprofessional. Just use 1 or 2. So here we have one serif font, the same serif font used again, and then a sans serif font used for the body text. So we got 1 and 2 just different fonts used here. Avoid similar typefaces. Okay, so this is kind of the opposite of what I said before, but the problem here, so these are 2 different typefaces, but notice how they're both serif fonts. So they got the little tail there and they got the little tail there. It's kind of too difficult to tell apart these typefaces. So you need a little bit of contrast. You need a little bit of distinction between, say, your header fonts and your body paragraph fonts. Now check this one out. Here we're using a serif font for the header, a slab serif, and it's also bold. So it's a bold serif font. And then look at the body. It's a nice normal font with a sans serif. And that looks really good. You can tell what's the heading very immediately and what's the body, as opposed to the bad example. Be careful of capitalization. So this is kind of like what you see on the internet when people are mad on Twitter, on Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. People just start yelling, right? And they're just all using all caps. 1, it's hard to read, and 2, people will think that you're yelling at them. So never, 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 never use all caps. And as opposed to the good example, just regular capitalization when you need it. Use a legible font size. So often a mistake is people will use too small of a font size. Computer screens are kind of harder to read than like print, like a newspaper or something like that. So you want to use nice, big, chunky font. So look at this body font. The recommended minimum size for the web is 16 points. Okay, so try not to go anything below that. Maybe 14, but that'd be really stretching it. So maybe 14 is the minimum that you want to go, but you want to keep it pretty big. Don't mix size and weight in the middle of your sentences and throughout your copy. This looks like a serial killer note, so it just looks crazy. Don't do that, right? And just keep it nice and normal. Create a unified mood. So if you're doing a topic like some space story, right? Like they're exploring universes, galaxies, and stuff like that, you wouldn't want to use this like old country Western font. Like it just totally doesn't fit. Look how bad that fits the theme. And this is that what's that one font? The Comic Sans. Oh yeah, so Comic Sans. You don't want to use that. It just doesn't fit the mood of the story that you're going for. Whereas opposed to this looks very techy, very futuristic, while keeping it from looking tacky. It just fits very well with the theme. And also use proper alignment. So don't see here we got aligned right, and then we got center alignment, and then we got justified. So it's just a mess all over the place. You want to keep everything nice and aligned down the line here, and it looks good. And try to use a ragged ending instead of a justification alignment. Create contrast. Okay, here if I'm using like a colored background, I got a nice white color to contrast with this color background so I can still read the words. This is bad. Look at this. So I need to switch colors. This red is very difficult to read on that red background. So there's not enough contrast here for this to be legible. And the last one, maintain typeface integrity. So here, this word has been artificially stretched. You know how when people, you're resizing it, you can kind of stretch the handles and make it wider, smaller, skinnier, narrow. Don't do that. You just keep the font the way it was designed, and that would be best for your design. Okay, so I will see you guys in lesson 3.5, I believe.